Hello to you all, and welcome to Pyramid Energy. I'm reading the energy of someone who is sitting in the quiet after the storm. I'm describing it this way because we're used to hearing about the quiet before the storm. However, I can definitely see that I'm talking to someone who has spent a period, I don't want to say up in their head, but it is up in your head, solving, trying to figure things out. And you are now dealing with coming down from that, not necessarily with all your clarity that you wanted before, but a peace about where you are right now. I'm picking up on emptiness, and without going into sort of how we process emptiness as darkness and not knowing what to do next, this is more a peaceful emptiness. There is a lot of acceptance in the air. This reading is meant to be a confirmation. I shouldn't be telling you anything new. I should only be clarifying where you are to you, or where you're about to be, or where you've just come out of. If you're new to the channel, I'm so pleased you're here. And if you're returning, welcome back. I also want to thank all of you who've left comments in the last few videos. I appreciate them all so much. And it's a privilege to read and channel energy for you. Just yesterday, I posted a reading for the first time to channel members. I'm going to show you on the screen what the reading touches on. If I had to choose a word to describe the energy in that container, I would say it's empowered. And so if that resonates, you're invited. It's been an interesting experience for me, observing the nuance between here and there. And I just want to express my gratitude to channel members for holding that frequency for me. Because what happens is that it's being held for me, and it actually does shift the energy here for the collective that I read for regularly here on YouTube. It just feels like we're all working together, even when we're not aware of it, in new and interesting ways. I've laid out the cards on the screen, and if you look at the chakra aspect of the spread, what I want you to look at is that out of these 14 cards, there are 6 major arcana and 8 minor arcana. I also want you to have a look at the 3s and the 4s, the Empress and the Emperor, the 3 of Cups and the 4 of Cups, and the 3 of Wands and the 4 of Wands. Okay. On the top left, that's the underlying energy, which is showing that you're actually preparing for a new beginning. And then what you're processing is the information that you've received on areas that you're now leaving. Okay, that is the reason for the silence. There is a peace, burdens that have been dropped. And what I want to highlight for you is what these burdens are. These burdens are around things that you felt you owed people, all the guilt that you were carrying as you were deciding how to proceed in this new direction. Okay, this new direction feels like a new way of life. Let me call it that. This could be physical for you. It could be something to do with your mindset. It could really be anything. Please take this as it resonates. Again, this message is intended as a confirmation. What's happening and what actually drew me to bring this clarity is that when we hear silence, we can tend to wonder what it's about, why it's there, okay? And so I'm clarifying the reason for this silence and what's going on for purposes of integration, because what happens is then the process speeds up, okay? You process, you receive your intuition, you get your confirmations. Consider this one of them if you want to. I've just found myself feeling so energized of late because I can tell how much processing is happening, how much letting go, how much acceptance is taking place, and how much you've let go of, the heaviness of fear. I'm finding that your fear is no longer stifling you. I'm finding that your triggers are being embraced. Okay, and I want to say that right now, I'm not finding you triggered at all. And what's happening, if you look at your root chakra, that 8 of Swords with the 3 of Cups, it's as if you're so well aware of what concerns you in your life, but you're almost making friends with your concerns. If you look at the heart, here, I've got 7 of Swords and the Hermit. This zone of the reading is very, very quiet. And what I'm seeing here is all the clearance that's taking place, okay? Coupled with the solar plexus where there's the 2 of Wands and the 4 of Cups. This is where you're looking at the things that are not working for you and you're stepping up to the plate and choosing what does. You're choosing to travel. If you look at how she's looking out the window and she's got her globe there and she's got a picture of a car there, she's making plans to depart. That's how it feels. To depart from the things that are not working, the things that don't spark joy, the things that you've become aware of, the things that bring you disappointment into your life. Okay? And so while this disappointment, some of the fruits of this disappointment might still be playing out, it's no longer being fed, it's no longer being serviced. Okay? Your energy is not going there, and you're also not carrying the energy of the guilt, the heaviness of having decided to do what's best for you. Another message I got when I looked at the heart was this reset, okay? A preparation. And I saw a wheel turning. Other symbols that I got are a pineapple. I got that for the throat. Pineapples, I looked it up. It's about celebration, welcome, all of that. And when I look at the moon and the empress, okay, these cards tell me that you're no longer explaining yourself. You have no need to explain yourself. You are comfortable with your position being invisible, with your position, your position on matters, where you stand on stuff. You no longer feel like this duty to explain why you do this and that, and you're kind of just sitting like the Empress, understanding that, your thoughts, your words, and your actions are better sort of channeled towards your choices, the decisions that you're making to activate this next level. When I mentioned all the 3s and the 4s, what I was seeing is actually the symbol of a pyramid. Okay? It looks like 3 sides when it's still flat as a concept and a vision. We can often look at a triangle as the stabilization and coming into balance of a vision. However, when you look at the number 4, you recognize how a pyramid sits once that triangle has formed in the 3D. So this is really around materialization of plans and visions. Okay? Your vision, your plans are moving into materialization. And not just that, if you combine that we're dealing with wands and cups, this is fire and water. What you're doing is you are sitting in this energy of, let's call it warm water. If you think about how the fire and water interact. This feels like wisdom coming together with transformation. This feels like applied wisdom that's causing transformation through care and through a warmth that you are sort of breeding in your life and your environment. Okay? And you know where this comes from? If you look at the crown and your third eye, I've got the Page of Cups and the Emperor and the crown. This is you recognizing your power. Okay? Not just that. Look at Judgment and the 4 of Wands. You are now celebrating the information that you're receiving. You're receiving information bit by bit, okay? Some in large chunks, some in small signs and confirmations that you're receiving from here and there. Some are from the external world. You're responding to your environment, your inner environment and your outer environment. And a lot of these confirmations are around, hey baby, you're the only one who is ever doubting yourself. That's how it sounds. It sounds like you're hearing now, finally, that you're the only one who ever doubted yourself. And so now you're really considering what it feels like to step into these bigger shoes. These shoes that do not worry. These shoes that feel empowered. And I didn't even look at the shoes in the, with this page of cups with the shoes at the top with the pig in the cup. If pigs could fly. I don't think that you were always aware of the possibility that you could actually step into these shoes. There was a point where these shoes felt too big. I'm speaking to somebody who is embodying not just their power, their sense of empowerment and fearless pursuit of their peace. And this warm water is creating a real sense of comfort for you to be comfortable living in your body and comfortable living in your thoughts. And so that's why concern is now you're settled. This is a sense of recognizing your concerns, but not letting them consume you. Okay? Understanding that you have what it takes to resolve them, not through solving through them yourself, but through getting yourself into the right kind of state of being for them to be solved. And if you look at your sacral chakra, this is what you're currently in the process of creating. You are literally expecting balance into your life and putting yourself in the right sort of condition to be able to welcome this balance. You're expecting it. You are not pursuing it. You are not looking for it. You are not getting impatient about where and when it's going to come. That's the sound of the silence. And when I look at this Three of Wands, I'm hearing, I'm going to keep the fire burning while I wait for you to come in. This voice is coming from balance. And you are not standing still. You are moving. You are watching. You are taking action. You are doing your part. Okay, there's so much from the last, I can't even count now, 2 to 3 days, 2, 3, whatever, of readings, okay, that feels like it has integrated. I really want to speak to the speed at which you are currently integrating. If you look back to yourself a year ago, okay, all of us in different places, but if you look at yourself, go back a year ago, you couldn't process the speed of integration. You were not processing integration at this speed. This tells me that information is coming in and you're like a post office. You're receiving information, you're checking it, you're customs, you're opening the box, not telling anyone which boxes you're opening, checking the box, deciding where it belongs, how much it's going to cost and everything, and sending it through. Okay? Energy is traveling through you. Energy is being processed and used. And you're actually processing less heavy energy now purely out of the kinds of things you're doing with the information that you're receiving. The way you're making decisions. That tells me that the framework that you are living off has completely shifted, darling. It's completely shifted. Okay, how you make decisions. Okay, how you deal with people. Not explaining yourself. Not worrying about, yes, there's concern, but not that kind of stifling concern where you're handing over your power to other people. Okay, there's also a respect for other people that we're showing them when we do this, because we're saying, let me look after me and you look after you, and together then we can look after each other better. Mutual respect, mutual care, not me carrying your load, not me making sure I process all your stuff for you before I process my own. This is beautiful. I never talked about the cards on the bottom left. These cards were around what is the theme here. Okay, and I pulled the Tower, the Six of Wands, and the Six of Cups. This is amazing because six is about balance and generosity. When we're talking manifestation, we're very much talking about stabilization. Okay, if you look at 369 and Tesla and all that, okay. We're looking at stabilization. This is the step before materialization. Okay. And so you have realized what is actually going on. You are awake. Okay. The things that felt like they were happening to you, you are regarding them differently. You're actually accepting that these things were necessary. Okay. And not just that, it's also Wands and Cups. It's also warm water, fire and water. It's also that. You've kind of stepped into your zone where you're empowered, where you can do something. The zone, your department, we spoke about this in a reading recently, your own department where things that are your problem are. Okay. So let's say something is everyone's problem. That's your ancestors' problem or your spirit guide's problem or God's problem or whatever. But you're not handing all of the files over. You're like, okay, let me deal with my files. And you're doing that. And you're trusting that the universe is doing its job. I want you to remember this time. I want you to remember this day, this period of your life where you really felt into this understanding that you don't need the details of the future to know that you're going to make it there. Okay, that you don't need everything up front. And that all you need is, maybe we're all tired of hearing the word presence, but that all you need is to kind of focus on how you're feeling and feeding the things that make you feel good and stopping feeding the things that make you feel bad. I'm finding so much inner child energy coming through. I'm like what I just said about, feeding what makes you feel good and not feeding what doesn't make you feel good. It's almost like the response of a child. And isn't it interesting to kind of reflect on how the child is now looking after the adult? The adult is the one that has all these worries and all of these concerns. When you don't know what to do, it's the child that comes forward with all the solutions. But the child doesn't think far into the future. The child stays in the moment. It's about pleasure. It's about pleasure. I shared a message about pleasure recently, and I feel like I talked about 2027. I feel like you've recognized the value of pleasure today. Other symbols I received, in the third eye, I saw a spiral. It was like just a turning spiral. Okay, so this is like you're aware that you are moving through a portal and you're receiving information on the go through your third eye to move through this portal. If you look at a spiral too long, you can see how it can make you dizzy, but you're staying still at each point of the spiral. You're not letting the spiral consume your sight. And then this boulder was in your crown. And, this boulder, it feels like just a big step that you're taking. I'm hearing, what's that? Giant step for man, giant step for mankind. I've butchered that quote, but do you know what I'm talking about? And this is speaking to me so much around, your leadership. Not just that, I want to talk about your leadership on a collective level. Because, and I touched on this in the beginning when I was talking about memberships, it's coming back to me now, around your role. Your role is so important, and something that's coming through that I want to share is that when you are doing the things you do day to day, whatever it is you're doing, your role in the world, your role in life, you don't even actually have to step into your role physically. I want you to know that this shift that you've taken, this place that you're in, this silence that you're sitting in while you're filtering through your personal life and your personal relationships and, all this sorting through. You are not doing this only for yourself. And I'm not saying this to encourage you. I'm saying thank you. I'm saying thank you. The way I feel, I come here on YouTube to read energy. I read it for my own benefit, and I read it as a service to the collective. Okay, it's both. And I get so much back for it in various ways. It comes back in various ways, sometimes directly, sometimes indirectly. I'm very much often moving through the dark. But I want to thank you, because the reason I've been feeling so energized is because you are working with me. Something else I want to share is that when this 8 of Swords that's in your root chakra, when it came out the deck, it kind of was trying to creep out, and I was trying to ignore it. This is just how I interact with the cards as I'm shuffling and laying them out. I was trying to ignore it. Eventually, it stuck out of the deck, and so I took it out. I didn't know it was the 8 of Swords again, because I really didn't want that in the root chakra, but then I put it down. And that's when I pulled the 3 of Cups, and I realized, okay, this is how you're actually dealing with your concerns. You're no longer trying to push them back. You're no longer trying to focus only on them. You have put them into the pot of things that are currently necessary in order for you to find your way. You are coexisting with manifesting and concerns. Like your concerns and your manifestations are living in one peaceful bundle in your life. Okay? Because you're recognizing that both are required. Change is not going to happen from focusing on either of them or one of them at once. I'm just finding you in such a realistic frame of mind. The word realistic has been coming up a lot lately, and when we talk about real and the idea of reality, it's very interesting, because usually reality means the 3D. Okay, but now here we are sort of existing on this multi-dimensional levels, however to put it. Often we can want to escape into the spiritual world and only deal with that as our reality and ignore the 3D reality. Or we get stuck into the 3D reality and sort of ignore spirituality, because there is an incongruence between the two often. The two are hard to work with at the same time. I'm finding that they are no longer hard to work with at the same time. That's what I'm seeing here. They are working together. Okay, we are merging these worlds, and we are working with them together. Very much manifestation. What is manifestation? For a long time, we talked about manifestation because that's the only thing we could really, in truth and reality, work with, was this idea of manifesting. I manifested my channel, let's say. I manifest these channeled readings. I manifest how to package my work. I manifest opportunities. Let's talk about that. Okay. And I also have manifested, my voice, my ability to speak, my ability to be understood, for my energy to be felt. I've manifested all those things, even the words. Some of them, I learn new words through spirit. My sister laughs at me. She's like, she finds it fascinating because I hardly read. that I learn these words, and it's because I'm reading all of your energy, and so all of your words and your vocabulary are coming at me, and I solve through it. I'm learning. No wonder I have no capacity to read. But what I'm talking about here is actual plans manifesting, the rigid stuff, the stubborn stuff, the stuff that your 8 of Swords is made of. Those things are shifting. Those things are shifting, and it's because you have made room in your heart, in your choices, in your body, in your mind. I think for a long time, at least once, we've all asked ourselves what actually used to happen with the pyramids, what happened to the pyramids, all of that. Was there enough energy produced in the pyramids to service the entire world? All of these theories that never felt real. Well, I feel like the idea of pyramid energy is real. If you protect and service the structure, the energy is endless and it can create. Another thing that may always remain a mystery is how the pyramids were created, but the fact remains. The pyramids exist, the structures are there, and they manifested. If this particular reading has appealed to you, and maybe you haven't been following for a while, I'm going to create a playlist of the readings that I've shared since 2026 started. I don't think there are that many, maybe a maximum of 5, let's say. I think that if you appreciate this, you'll appreciate those. There's also a 3-part series that I included. I'm sharing this with you here with a disclaimer because that 3-part series deals with rather dense energy, okay? But I want you to know that if you're feeling like it's too dense, listen to your instinct. But I want to encourage you, and this is not just so you watch my content, but this is to say that even I had that reaction to that reading. I also had that reaction to the point where I almost deleted it, but I don't delete content once I've posted it, even if I have a complex after sharing it, okay? I don't do that. I haven't done it yet. Let me put it that way. I want to reassure you that how I dealt with it is that I listened, okay? And then I slept on it. And in my sleep, it integrated. Maybe it's different for everyone else. Maybe. But I don't want you to underestimate your ability to work through dense energy. When I first listened to it, okay, properly, like listening back, I thought to myself, oh my God, what have I done? Because I felt like it was actually like cracking my skull open and like put all this stuff in my stomach, and I felt really frazzled around, this is a lot. This is a lot. But the energy was there, which tells me that the energy was ready to be shared. And one of the things that's been coming through a lot this year is the only way through is through. And so I share that 3-part series with you with that in mind. Because what happens, the more of us that actually do the more dense work, the faster we all move through this energy. The evidence is there. And so to all of you who have listened or who have done that work elsewhere, thank you so much. I'm going to leave this here, sending you all so much love.